We just read from the end of Parashat Shoftim, and this particular passage presents a somewhat bizarre scenario and ritual that I think holds particular relevance for us during this month of Elul. Moshe tells the people that if in the land of Israel they come across a dead body lying in the open, and the killer is unknown, the elders and magistrates of the nearby towns should measure the distance of the corpse to their towns. The elders of the town located nearest the corpse must then break the neck of a heifer and ask God to absolve them of the killing, as they hold responsibility. They shall declare the words, Yadenu lo shafchu et hadam hazeh, ve'einenu lo ra'u. Our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done. Absolve, O Lord, your people Israel, whom you redeemed, and do not let guilt for the blood of the innocent remain among your people Israel. In the absence of witnesses and any information, the leaders seek to absolve themselves and the people of responsibility for a death that occurred in their town under their jurisdiction. They should be held accountable, but a heifer, a cow, is killed in their stead, washing away the innocent blood that was shed and any connection that they have to this crime. But the ritual is not only about absolution. Nechama Leibovitz explains that the Torah wanted the loss of this single, anonymous, precious life to shock the elders' complacency and summon them to severe self-scrutiny. The elders' declaration only comes after a thorough investigation of any role that they played in the crime. The Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud disagree about what the leaders conclude after their self-scrutiny, specifically for whose blood they are seeking forgiveness, the slain or the slayer. For the Babylonian Talmud, the leaders' declaration implies that they played no role in the events that led to the victim's death. When they say, our hands did not shed blood, nor did our eyes see it done, the Talmud explains that they mean that they did not neglect to care for the victim who came into their town. And I'm quoting from Tractate Sota. No one came within our jurisdiction whom we discharged without food, and whom we did not see, and whom we left without providing them an escort. We provided the necessary hospitality and public safety measures for the victim. But between their words, what is unsaid is most powerful. The measures we provided were not sufficient to protect this person. Behind the declaration is an admission. And on the other hand, the Jerusalem Talmud understands the pronouncement to be absolving the leaders of having not caught the perpetrator. No one came within our jurisdiction, they declare, whom we discharged and failed to put to death, that we overlooked or neglected to bring them to justice. The town's courts were not negligent, yet they did not bring the culprit to justice, their ultimate obligation. The judges are instructed earlier in our parsha, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. Thus you will sweep out evil from Israel. And in a fascinating move, the Malbim, a 19th century Ukrainian commentator, combines the different Talmudic explanations of the declaration. When the elders say, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done, they are really saying, we were not indirectly instrumental in this murder on account of not providing the murderer with food, for the lack of which he was driven to commit this capital crime. The Malbim recognizes that perhaps the murderer, not only the victim, required hospitality. He provides an explanation for what may drive a murderer to take a life. Perhaps his own life is not valued by society. The Malbim intensifies the elders' self-scrutiny. They ask questions that we're not inclined to ask ourselves. What role, direct or indirect, did we play in this crime? What could we have done to prevent the murderer from committing this crime in the first place? How have we failed him as well as the victim? While the elders and the town are absolved from any connection to the crime, it is the self-reflection, reviewing their town's public safety measures, the quality of their justice system, and how hospitable they are to strangers and the resulting public declaration that brings them atonement. Though they declare themselves innocent, their words betray a sense of guilt and accountability. And as we enter this month of Elul, we begin a process of deep self-communal and societal reflection. Soon we will admit to our transgressions publicly in the Vidui prayer and commit to being kinder and more compassionate versions of ourselves in the coming year. And by the end of Yom Kippur, we too will have achieved atonement. So let's begin that process now. Throughout the month of Elul, we hear the shofar blast. May we hear that shofar blast and be shocked out of our complacency and be summoned to self-scrutiny. Because we cannot say honestly that our hands are clean from transgression and that we did not witness any wrongdoing in our own homes, in our communities, and in our society this year.